Welcome to Coast Vineyard Church this morning. We are only doing church online today. It was about a week ago when I just finished watching my Blues rugby team have a great win, and then we get a big announcement saying that Auckland, which is where we live, is being sent into lockdown trying to contain this virus. So here we are doing church online, but I know that for those of you that are watching, it'll be well worth it. So my name's Matt Lilly. I'm the lead pastor here at Coast Vineyard Church, and again, great to have you tuning in, great to have you watching. Just so you know, we've also got YouTube videos for our primary age kids today, and also our preschool, and also our wide age, which is age 11 to 14. I know those are for different ages, but a lot of people, they just watch the whole lot and really enjoy them. So that's happening. You can head over to watch those now or a little later. Shortly we're going to be hearing from Stanley, our associate pastor here, and he's going to let you know a few things that are happening in the life of the church. And then after that, we're doing something a little bit different. We've got a Zoom call in with Brian Doerksen, who is a legend worship leader with the Vineyard, and he's written songs that you may know, Come Now Is the Time to Worship, Faithful One, and like a stack of others, and has been incredibly influential in helping people in the journey of worshiping God and knowing God in that way. So that'll be good, looking forward to that. And then afterwards, we've got some worship that Brian's recorded just in his home, just on his own for us, that we can have either just to listen to, or you may want to in your own way just to worship along with that. So should be a good morning. Great to have you here, but for now, let me hand over to Stanley.
Yes, well, thank you, Matt, and it's lovely to be with you this morning, especially if it's your very first time here at Coast Vineyard, maybe with us online or in person. It's great to have you here, and in fact, if you would like to know some more about us as a church, then you can jump onto our website, fill in one of those contact forms, and that's just a great and helpful way for us to be able to keep you in the loop of things that are going on in the life of the church. And in fact, through this season, for all of us, just great for us to be connected through social media, the various platforms that we are needing to be nimble and communicate about what's going on as we jump through these levels. Hey, just before I let you know another couple of things that are coming up in the life of the church, I just wanted to encourage you with our giving. At the moment, we're going through 2 Corinthians as part of our New Testament in a Year reading plan. A number of us are doing it, and if you're not doing it, I encourage you to jump on board with it and just pick it up wherever we're up to. But just in 2 Corinthians, Paul's just encouraging the Corinthians in there about also excelling in the grace of giving. To also excel in the grace of giving. Excel in all areas of life, but also in the grace of giving. And I just thought it's a wonderful encouragement to us, and especially as we go through the different seasons of life, to continue to make giving and being generous just a priority within our worlds. So if you would love to step into that and to give towards Coast Vineyard and the activity and ministry of what's going on, you can do that on the website. All the information there is how to be involved in that activity. If you want to give through an AP, or you want to give through an app that we use, then you can find that out there. And also, if you want to give into our community ministry activity, then you can just simply itemize or reference the giving that you're doing there so that we can tag that appropriately. So a couple of things that are coming up in the life of the church. The first bit is for our young people. So we have E-Camp and Easter Camp coming up. So E-Camp is for year 7s to 9s, and Easter Camp is for year 9s to 13s. They both happen fairly close to each other within the country. So Easter Camp happens at Mystery Creek, and E-Camp happening at Findlay Park, just a little bit further south from there, further south from Hamilton, that is. So these are just camps that give an awesome opportunity for young people to be able to encounter God for themselves, to build great relationships with other young people, and to just learn more about the Word and all things that are good about God. The 14th of March is a bit of a critical date, both for signing up and for getting the best deal on the sign-ups. So if you want to find out more information about it, you can jump onto the website. Again, all the details are there. For eCamp, you're going to connect with Teresa. For Easter Camp, you're going to connect with Zoe. Their contacts are within the What's On page on our website. Another thing that's coming up in the life of the church is Heart and Soul Parenting Night. So Tuesday the 16th of March in the evening, 7 p.m. onwards, we'd love to invite you along to that night. And it's a night for parents who have kids anywhere under 18 years of age. And it's focused around how do we build relationally with our kids and how do we lead them spiritually. And if you're anything like me, you need some help when it comes to parenting. We all need to be equipped and upskilled and helped within that journey. So I really want to encourage you to come along to that night. If you want to register for it, that would be really helpful to let the team know. And like everything else, you can jump onto the website, onto our What's On page and find out the details there. Hey, well that's enough from me. I hope you're doing good in your lounge rooms, but I've got the real privilege of passing back to Matt, who's going to be interviewing Brian, and I know that you're going to be blessed by what they have to share and talk about. See you soon.
Hey, thanks so much, Stanley. All right, hey, we're going to be joined very shortly by Brian Doerksen. He is a legend when it comes to worship leading and his influence in worship in the Vineyard churches worldwide and also the wider church as well. And I am absolutely confident that you're going to be inspired in your journey with God by our conversations. So we're going to have Brian join us now. Well, hey, Brian, it's so good to have you on our call and looking forward to just chatting a little bit this morning. Been really enjoying our recent friendship and this is going to be a chat that we're going to record and is going to be available for a church for the Sunday. So that's going to be a cool thing. So welcome. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. And, it's just amazing, isn't it? Right? Like we're 21-hour time zones apart on the other side of the world, and here we are talking in real time and connecting. It's a gift.
So it's Thursday here today, so it's Wednesday where you are, is that right? So I can tell you that Thursdays you're going pretty well so far, so you can look forward to that tomorrow. And just enjoying looking at your space there. It's it looks like a great cozy space, lovely fireplace in the background, so which you'll obviously enjoy in the cold winters. So for those people that don't know, Brian is in Abbotsford, Canada, which is south of Vancouver. Do you call yourself Vancouver, or do you like to not call yourself Vancouver?
Oh yeah, I mean, like when I'm places far away, I say I'm from the Vancouver, Canada area. I live just outside of Vancouver. We're about 45 minutes out, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that you're very close to the USA border, and I have seen the border down that way, and in a lot of places it's just like a ditch between.
You go 10 minutes south of our house and you start driving along what's called Zero Avenue, and it's just a little ditch, and there's a few little silver pillars, and then when you get to the actual border crossing, it's like heavily fortified and cameras and everything. And I mean, it's really sad for us when post 9/11 how the borders change. Just the other day, my dad and I were chatting, and he was talking about when he was a late teenager, and they used to pile like 10 people into a car, and then just drive across the border. They'd have to slow down. They have no ID with them, nothing.
Wow.
And the officer would say, "Hey, where are you guys going today?" "Oh, we're going to the park for a picnic down Bellingham or Linden, the American towns just south of us. Yeah. Oh, have a fun time,
like. Different times now, but
a lot easier than the southern border of the states. So they're not looking at
Yes.
building a wall across there anytime soon.
No,
No.
no. Though there were some talk a couple of years ago. There was actually, I heard some crazy talk for some that they were going to try and figure out a way to fortify, which is the longest. I think we share the longest, you know, land border in the world with another country or something. I don't know, that non-secure or whatever the term is. Like there anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
We
Hey,
need
so
each other. You know, we need our differences. We need, yeah.
yes, no, it's it's going to be interesting. Like, I guess the whole thing will change again with the new USA administration. But anyway, let's keep talking about other things. Again, if is I guess some way of introduction. You know, Brian, you're a worship leader and strongly involved with the Vineyard churches for a long time, but would love to talk about worship, because worship was one of the things that captured my heart and one of the things that I love about who we are in the Vineyard. I can honestly say it's changed my life, learning to become a worshiper of God. And you've got your own journey, though. Tell me, it'd be great to hear your story about, you know, way back when you first encountered the Vineyard, and I know that worship was grabbed something in you right back then as well. So it'd be great to hear a little bit about your journey.
Yeah. Well, you can ask questions away if I'm going in the want to guide me in the right direction.
Okay.
I mean, so maybe to say, for starters, you know, here on the property where I'm speaking to you from, this is the house and property that I grew up on. Okay. So I was 4 years old when I moved onto this little piece of land with my brother and parents, and it was here, just a few feet away from where I was talking to you where I'm talking to you now. I was 15 years old, and I had my first really profound spiritual encounter. I had just gone up to my bedroom one evening, and the presence of God just visited me, and I heard this voice, not audibly, but so clearly, you know, will you give me your whole life? Will you serve me? Will you trust me? And, you know, the interesting thing was I was already going a certain direction as quick, you know, as determinedly as I could. You know, I was a basketball player. We had a business already. I was a 15-year-old already, part owned a business, making money.
Wow.
Saving up for my first car, my sports car, and all of this kind of like ambition that was about me. Yeah. And this presence enters my room. And so that was the start of my really profound spiritual journey. And I think because of that experience, there was a seed of expectation of intimacy, right, with God, that was there from the, because I grew up in a conservative Christian environment that I couldn't relate to. I couldn't relate to this kind of legalistic, ultra conservative. I just couldn't access it somehow, and that experience changed it, but it also left me still frustrated with attending church and not experiencing this kind of God encounter, this kind of intimacy. So fast forward another few years, and, you know, Joyce and I, newlywed couple, we're 19. We're with YWAM.
19, you guys were just babies.
Absolutely. I know it's very freakish now to think about, you know, 19-year-olds getting married. But anyway,
yeah, moving on.
moving along.
My daughter's my youngest daughter's 19. So yeah,
there you go. There
she
you
would be
go.
freaked
And our
out at the thought of
youngest
that.
is 21. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we were in YWAM, based out of Singapore,
Yep.
doing missions work in Indonesia, the Philippines, and there was a real spiritual hunger growing in me and a real frustration that the type of churches I was encountering and the types of spirituality that was being modeled, um, I just I couldn't connect with it. It was either very formal,
Yep.
there was no expectation of intimacy, and I wrote a letter back home to Canada at one point to my parents and expressed a bit of my frustration. And my mom says, "Oh, I just encountered the vineyard for the very first time,
Okay.
and a guy named John Wimber, and there's something about how they do spirituality and ministry and church that just so I think you're gonna love this." And they've just started the very first vineyard church in Canada. So when you come home next month, she says in the letter, why don't we go visit it together? So
Nice.
so my parents, we walk in the back door of the Langley Vineyard, the very first vineyard in Canada. Andy Park is the worship leader. Gary Best is the pastor. And we walk in the back. We don't know a single person. And the whisper, the voice, "This is now your church home."
Wow.
It was just like clear as a bell. I walked in and I just knew before anything happened. And then at the end of the service, a young gal comes walking up to Joyce and me and introduces herself and says, "Hi, I'm Daphne, and I sing on the worship team, and I don't recognize you. You're new here." And we start chatting, and she finds out I do some music, and she's like, and then I play bass guitar, and I play bass guitar, and we need another bass guitar player for the worship team. Why don't you join us? And so, fast forward. So I become the bass guitar player at the vineyard, on the vineyard worship team pretty soon. And then shortly,
can I just jump in with a question? So when you on that first day, was the worship, was there anything about it that you noticed, or was it just more the key thing was just that voice in your ear saying, "This is home"?
Yeah. Well, I think it's both. I think it was the voice which then opened me for what so that when I saw things and felt things and experienced things that were different than what my upbringing was like, I was open, right? Because I knew it was a safe, good place for me.
Yeah.
And I'm a sensitive person. I'm an introvert by nature, and I've never identified with loud and proud and brash and kind of arrogant kind of spirituality. I've never connected. And there was a gentleness and there was an intimacy that just pulled me in. In the first Sunday. And then we found out that John Wimber and a team was doing a conference like a few weeks later. It was a long ways away. It was in Kansas City. Okay.
Oh, wow.
For 40 hours by car.
Oh, okay.
So we worked till the last possible moment at our summer jobs. We got in a car and drove 40 hours straight.
Okay.
3 of us, my wife, me, and a friend, Reed. And we just kept on rotating drivers, driving for 40 hours.
Yeah.
And we got there a couple of hours before the conference started. And then I had another really profound, experience there, because there was maybe 4,000 people at this conference, and walked into the back of the conference hall, a big impersonal kind of huge space. And Danny Daniels walks up onto the stage, blue jeans, t-shirt, very casual.
Yeah.
Grabs an acoustic guitar, and then a drummer walks up and a bass guitar, like the band walks onto the stage, and they start playing music that is just like, again, it's not complicated. but it's full, it's warm, it's good, there's good sound, but at the very heart, the words are intimate, they are personal. It's not formal. It's relational language. It's spirituality put into relational language in a way that I could understand. And I just start, just like the tears, I'm just standing there, just soaking it in, kind of, and partly this feeling like I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Like there was many times where I felt like I really had a God hunger, and I wanted to make connections with a community of people who had God hunger, but I found they spoke another dialect, culturally, musically, the way they referred to God, the way they tried to manipulate things, and I just didn't feel any of that. So that was how. Yeah, and I was the seeds were going in, the water, the river was just flowing into me, and I was the bass player at our church worship team, and thought this is awesome, and would have never expected to, in one sense, become the worship leader and pastor and write songs and all of that. That came in the coming years, but at the beginning it was just being and soaking in and just letting the defenses down, because I felt safe.
Yeah. And was that the conference? I remember you saying that there was one of those, either that conference or a conference where you were playing bass on stage, and then
that's the next. So then I carry on playing bass at the church, and then Wimber decides to do a conference up in Canada, and they ask Andy Park and our worship team to basically be the worship team. So now that's that next story. So now we're in front of 5,000 people, of fellow Canadians.
Okay.
Right. Wimber's, and they do a session on the father wound in culture, and how God's heart as a father, as a parental figure, is broken over our brokenness, how he weeps with us, how he welcomes us with open arms, and he wants to hold us in his arms. And the session ends, and they call Andy to go up and do a song, and then they can start praying for people. And Andy looks over at me, and so a few months before this, I had played in a home Bible study for 10 people, my secret song that I had written when our daughter was born, called "Father, I Want You to Hold Me." And he's like, "Go play that Father song now." And Wimber standing there.
Okay, but different going to 5,000 people than in front of 10. That's
And then I play the song, and people start weeping, and then Wimber comes up to me and says, "My father was an alcoholic. He left when I was 4. That song really touched me. I needed that song. Could we publish it?" And I'm like, "What's publish? I have no clue." And he says, "Do you have any other songs?" And I say, "Well, I've got one. It's called Faithful One, and just written that a few weeks ago." He goes, "Well, we'll publish that one too." So that's in essence why we're having this conversation, in a way, because that moment, where, it probably would have happened at some other time in some other way, but the first songs that I wrote to try and express my spiritual journey, the intimacy, what I longed for from God, just resonated with some other people. And
well, I know both those songs, and remember back when they did come out from Vineyard Music, the Vineyard Worship CDs back then. Might have even been cassettes. No, but and how again, they were songs that were so helpful for so many in worship. So they went from there and went all around the world. So and we're grateful for them. So, and then I guess from there you went from a bass player to like, hey, they've this guy Brian. We need to get him doing some stuff, leading, and began a journey of worship leading. And what's as you went more into that, tell me more around like when you lead worship, like what are you looking to see? What are you hoping to see happen? What's the reason that you get up and do all the work, do all the practice, bring the teams together, write songs? What are you hoping to see happen by doing that?
Well, for me, it's as simple as creating a setting for intimacy. It's kind of like a best man, at a wedding, and how a best man serves the groom, preparing and for when they're going to come together and exchange vows, and they're going to commit love to each other. They're going to commit faithfulness to each other. And so I see being a worship leader as you're helping create this setting so that people can come, and then you're pulling as far back as you can. It's not about you, right? It's about people. It's about the bride longing for the groom and the groom longing for the bride in an exchange of mutual love. And I find that as a result, even the music that I choose to use and the lyrics of the songs, those things really matter to me. And I find hype doesn't work well when you're thinking about it in this term, in this model. Bombast or real aggression doesn't serve. I always make the assumption that the people that have come, that are there, that's too what they're longing for, that they're longing for an intimate connection with God, that I don't have to browbeat them, that I don't have to win them over. All I have to do is create a setting for intimacy. And songs are a beautiful way, not the only way, but a beautiful way of doing that, especially a love song, a song of revealing, a song of vulnerability, a song of surrender, those kinds of things. So I want to be a support. I want to create a setting, but I want to be as gentle and as unobtrusive as possible. One of the, speaking of the whisper and the voice that I heard, as I started getting into this and doing this more, and I started getting to know my peers and other people who were doing this in other parts of the world, and there's times where I felt like, oh my gosh, like there's just so much stuff going on now with the worship music explosion and so much performance and hype and all of this. And I felt like God said two things to me that I've never forgotten and that continue to guide me. He said, lead worship with a whisper. And the second was sing over the suffering. And that combination of that whispering, of gentleness, of not shouting, but still sounding the invitation. So I've got the whisper, and then it's like, and be aware of the suffering. Like this isn't a club. This isn't a success club. This isn't a club. Worship isn't about where the most beautiful and the most successful and the most powerful people in the world can gather and congratulate themselves that, look, we made it. we're in, you know.
Yeah.
Worship is actually a place where the suffering and the hungry and the thirsty can come, you know, as it says in Isaiah, come and buy and eat if you have no money, you know, like whatever it is, like you're welcome. But the welcome is that we come as we are, and we're gently invited in. And of course, the lead worship with a whisper and sing over the suffering reminds me of that, you know, the prophecy of Jesus, that he will, you know, a bruised reed he won't break, and a smoldering wick he won't snuff out. Like this sense of, like, just the tiniest amount of flame and desire for God can be breathed on, can be gently reawoken. And so those are some of the metaphors and ways I'm thinking about it, and they help keep me grounded, and they help me when I feel you know, lost in the noise of what sometimes the whole modern worship thing has become. I just come back to, well, God. They have to, every one of us has to answer to God for our own journey, for our own calling, and how we do and don't do things. This is what I was called to do. And I was called to do this pre-vineyard, pre even knowing that such a thing existed. And then when I encountered the vineyard, I had this moment, I think I said already, that feeling like I'm not alone, right? Like that there's all these other people out there that have a similar desire, and then a similar way of expressing it, I guess, you know.
Yeah, I mean, worship is such a gift from that, you know, perspective, is that because I say it from that perspective because there is so many different ways that people are doing, you know, worship these days, and as you say, some of them perhaps more helpful than others, but to have a place where you can actually connect with God in a place that's real and intimate, and that's the place where our lives get changed for good, and for people that have been on journeys that have been incredibly difficult, or are currently in the midst of a season of real challenge. It's just such a gift that we can come to God in that place and meet with him, just, you know, in the rawness of who we are and where we're at and how we're feeling. And it's, you know, and we've got this, you know, our scriptures are, you know, full of that, where God just has just these wide open arms and just, like, you know, come as you are, you know, like you're angry, you're grieving, you're downtrodden, you're confused. Just come and find, you know, where everything makes sense. Come and into that place of being with God. Yeah.
You know, that phrase, come as you are, I mean, that's my whole story behind Come Now's the Time to Worship, right? And I was in a season where I was broken. We had found out our son had Fragile X syndrome and would require care for the rest of his life. We tried to launch a musical that collapsed. And so when that song sparked for me, when I heard the voice on the streets of London that September morning in 1997, you know, come now's the time to worship. I mean, that's why I wrote phrases like come just as you are. It was like I was broken. I was struggling. I was, you know, I was in a season where I didn't know if I was going to make it. And because we have this thing, somehow religious culture has become more and more like you try and change before you come so that you can be acceptable or whatever. And the invitation and of the Creator is, no, come as you are, come with your grief, like you said, come with and then you change. The change comes from the inside out, when you're willing
Yeah.
to just open up yourself. So
Mm.
that's
Mm.
so important. And somehow it felt like some people latched onto the appearance of vineyard style worship, but missed the heart, missed the honesty, missed some of that stuff, and then turned it into a big performance kind of formula where you have to present a certain way. And that to me
Mm.
is really hard
Yeah.
because it's unsustainable. You have to have that freedom to come you are.
Mm.
Otherwise, you can't sustain faking it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, you talked. I saw this video recently where you were chatting with Harmony Smith from. Is it Harmony
Yeah.
Smith? Yeah. From
Yes.
looks after the vineyard worship in the UK, and
Yeah.
lovely setting. You're sitting out in what looked like a lovely spot
Mm-hmm.
there. And but you were just chatting about emotionally healthy worship.
Yeah.
I guess some of the things that you've just shared is a little bit to that, but it'd be great to have you unpack that a little bit more, just what you were thinking there. And it's a phrase that I know that there's all sorts of books from, is it Pete Scazzero has written Emotionally
Yeah.
Healthy Spirituality,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
but you've sort of said, and I don't know if you're referring to that or not, but it's just I loved what you were saying there, so it'd be great to just get some of your wisdom on that.
Well, I mean, my journey into what I would call emotionally healthy worship has really been a lifelong journey, and I'm still learning. I think what I'm trying to communicate with that phrase is that worship is meant to be holistic. Okay, so it's not just that presentation of one aspect of, and then we can start um, giving into that temptation that it's all about what it appears like, what it looks like. But no, it's that deep vulnerability, and then saying, within me and within my surrender to God is all of emotion. And it's all, I say we feel because God feels first. Like if we're truly image bearers, then all of these emotions are helpful to be who we are actually intended to be. And that includes the difficult emotions like anger and sadness and grief and, processing loss. Because, of course, we have those difficult emotions because life has many layers of suffering and of things that the outcomes don't go the way we want them to go. And if our worship doesn't give room for that, we won't have health, right? Like we talk about emotionally healthy. Like we could, if you take out the health and just, well, let's, some people say, well, that's the problem, all this modern worship is too emotional, right? Like, it's like, well, it's emotional worship. Well, I say, no, hang on a second. What our goal isn't emotionalism, it's emotional health, which is that thing that, one of the things we've learned recently from psychologists, I think is really true, is that you can't selectively numb emotion, right? So if you say, I don't want to feel sadness, I'm going to do what I can to numb that. So I don't want to feel sad. I want to feel joy, but I don't want to feel sadness. But as soon as you go to numb sadness, you're numbing your capacity for joy. And you're doing this. You're creating this flat line, this unemotional kind of existence. But as human beings made in the image of God, what that means is that we have all of that capacity for incredible joy and incredible sadness. And they're connected to what we're experiencing. They're connected to issues of justice and injustice. They're connected to what we're experiencing relationally, what we're experiencing economically, in all layers of life. And so when I say emotionally healthy worship, I'm saying our worship should be holistic. We should be able to celebrate and express our joy. We should be able to weep and express our lament and our loss, and do all of that intimately with God, right? Like, it's that still, to me, it comes back to, like, if you, because here's just a little theory that's just coming to me right now. But one of the reasons why many of faith have lost intimacy in their worship, because they haven't embraced emotionally healthy expressions. So if you can't express your sadness and you're only permitted to express your joy, you are forced into a way of an artificial expression. And then you think, well, you can't be fake, like how do you sustain being fake and lying, as a husband and wife with each other for long? Like, eventually it cracks, and then you have to just play a game, like of platitudes and formality, and but actually what we're made for is true intimacy, which involves true honesty, which involves real vulnerability, and that means we need all of it. We need, we need emotional health. And that's not separate from spirituality, or worship. It's actually integrated. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but
no, it's good. And I guess, and loving your insights. When we talk about our feelings, and I guess from a worship point of view, we could sing about our feelings, or even just if we talk about worship as wider than just singing, just our engagement with God. If we're bringing our feelings, our real feelings to God, then there's an honesty there that has to lead to deeper relationship, because honesty does that. And so is that, that part of what you're saying is just that bringing, and I guess too, the challenge, for us too, is sometimes with this when there is a swirl of emotions, even knowing how we're feeling, because
yes, exactly.
But to be able to be just journeying with God, and whether it's a walk on the beach and just like trying to just get it out and say, God, like, there's all this going on, and it's but I'm feeling this, and I'm not even sure what it is, but I want to walk with you through it. Then that has to be so rich for our relationship with God, by just even having those kind of times with God and conversations with God.
And that word, like, conversation, like, I know, like, sometimes we have so formalized worship in a way that it ceases to be it ceases to be a real dialogue, and it becomes more like, no, we can only say these things, and we can only feel these things. Again, the invitation, no, come as you are. Now, obviously, the hope is that as we do this repetitively in a life-giving rhythm, right, we become more and more healthy, and we become more and more aware that we're loved. Right? So as we become more aware that we're loved at the deepest level, we settle, we become our truest selves, and we have more clarity. We are not as jumbled and as confused, because we're not as pulled. If somebody wants us to go do something that is against who we are and who we know we are called to be, we're not as pulled, because we're loved, we know who we are, and we're secure, I guess would be another way to say it. And I really believe that emotionally healthy worship does a much better job of securing us in God than kind of like performance praise, where we try and suppress any difficult emotions and say, no, we're only going to praise God. And as soon as you start getting this kind of like layer, this false layer over it, and that leads to insecurity, because then you think, if God or others around me really see the real me, they'll all be rejected in some way. And I think the human soul, the human heart needs more. What we need most of all is we need to know the unconditional love of God and of human beings around us. That's what leads to health and to meaningful living and serving of other people, because we're secure, right? And so, yeah, worship is this incredible healing, life-giving place where we can deal with some of those deep issues and then come out the other side ready and willing and able to love other people. Because, I call it the triple love invitation of Jesus. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. I mean, nothing's left out, really.
Yep.
And love your neighbor as yourself. And if we have no love to give to neighbor, if we don't love ourselves,
right,
if we don't know how deeply we're loved by God, and if we don't accept who we are. So it's that triple love invitation that worship puts into us when we get it right.
It sounds like a punchline, way to bring things, to a close. I love that. Is there anything, just as we draw to a close, anything that you'd want to encourage Coast Vineyard Church, whatever it is, 21 hours time difference, probably, I don't know, 8,000 miles away, maybe not quite that much, but here we are down, in our summer. Anything that you'd like to send from, from where you are to Coast Vineyard Church, and just encourage us in our journey of worshiping God?
Oh man, Coast Vineyard. I mean, enjoy summer, first of all. We're longing for it over here. I would say to all of you, Coast Vineyard, to relax. That intensity won't accomplish what God wants to do. That the very things that God wants to do among you come when you exhale, when you rest, when you open yourselves up to the love of God and to the love that is all around you, in your sisters and brothers who are around you. And as you exhale, as you let go of intensity, open yourselves up to intimacy, to that vulnerability, and continue to explore what your mother tongue is in expressing that back to God. Like what ways, what songs, what cultural ways that are unique to you that really express your heart. I always say to local churches, import less and grow more of your own expressions. I say, yes, it's great, sing some songs that churches around the world are singing. You're a part of a worldwide faith, but you are a local, living, loving expression of faith right where you are. And some of that expression needs to be the seeds, and the growth and the expression need to be yours, uniquely yours. So however you do that, hopefully one day I can visit you in person, and hear and see some of what God has been stirring among you, and grateful for this chance to connect this way.
Yeah.
Thanks for
But love to have you down here. You'd want to time it well. You'd want to escape your winter and come down in our summer. But a few things have to happen first. We've got to get this pesky virus under control, but let's aim for that. Hey, thanks so much, Brian, and really appreciate the time and the friendship and the conversation and the inspiration too. So, God bless you and all that you're doing, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Matt. Love to all of you.
Well, I hope that was helpful, encouraging, inspiring. He's such a great guy. I really enjoyed talking. So Brian has recorded some worship just in his home, and he said, use it for church on Sunday. So we're going to kick into that now. And again, would really encourage you just to open your heart to God and worship along, or just enjoy listening to it and be blessed, enjoy, and have a great week.
I lift my eyes up to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from you, Maker of heaven, Creator of the earth. Oh, how I need you, Lord. You are my only hope. You're my only prayer. So I will wait for you to come and rescue me. Come and give me life. I lift my eyes up to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from you, Maker of heaven, Creator of the earth. Oh, oh, how I need you, Lord. You are my only hope. You're my only prayer. So I will wait for you to come and rescue me. Come and give me life. I lift my eyes up to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from you, Maker of heaven, Creator of the and heal me. Oh Lord, have mercy on me. And free me. Place my feet upon a rock. Put a new song in my heart, in my heart. Oh Lord, have mercy on me. Oh Lord, may your love and your grace protect me. Oh Lord, may your ways and your truth direct me. Place my feet upon a rock. Put a new song in my heart, in my heart. Oh Lord, have mercy on me. Have mercy on me and heal me. Oh Lord, have mercy on me and free me. Place my feet upon a rock. Put a new song in my heart, in my heart. Oh Lord, have mercy on me. Oh Lord, have mercy on me. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord, we will wait upon the Lord. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord our God. You reign forever. Our hope, our strong deliverer. You are the everlasting God. The everlasting God. You do not faint, you won't grow weary. You're the lift us up on wings like eagles. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord our God. You reign forever. Our hope, our strong deliverer. Yeah, you are the everlasting God. The everlasting God. You do not faint, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak. You comfort those in need. You lift us up on wings like eagles. Our God, you reign forever. Our hope, our strong deliverer. You are the everlasting God. The everlasting God. You do not faint, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak. You comfort those in need. You lift us up on wings like eagles. You are the everlasting God. The everlasting God. You do not faint, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak. You comfort those in need. You lift us up on wings like eagles. Wings like eagles. Oh yeah. This is the air I breathe. This is the air I breathe. Your holy presence living in me. This is my daily bread. This is my daily bread. Your very word spoken to me. And I'm desperate for you. And This is the air I breathe. Your holy presence living in me. This is my daily bread. This is my daily bread. Your very word spoken to me, and I'm desperate for you. And I'm lost without you. So lost without you. We're lost without you. And I'm desperate for you. And I'm lost without you. We're lost without you. This is the air I breathe. This is the air I breathe. We breathe.
Wow, how awesome, eh? Thank you so much, Brian, for sharing your music and your heart with us. And man, I just loved hearing from someone who's made such a significant contribution to the kingdom of God through their life. Trust that you also have just been blessed and enriched as you've joined in with us and done church with us this morning. And we look forward to being able to see you again, whether that be online or in person. But whatever you're doing, just be blessed, and I hope you have a fantastic day. See ya.